Hello. I don't think anybody's there. Nope. Nobody watching. Hello. Say hi in the chat so I know who you are. I see that there are a few people just joined. Hello, Andrea. Happy Easter. I am a Buddhist, so I don't actually care about Easter religiously, but it's some days off, which is nice. I took advantage of the Easter public holidays and took the entire week, the coming week off. So I have a nice break. Who else is there? I see that there are other people, not just Andrea. Rogue, how you doing? What are you guys reading? I will be winking on Ship of Magic by Robin Hall. It's such a good book, such a good trilogy. Hello, Brian. My pleasure to host a bit of a sprint. Hello, Elaine. It's funny, I always think of sprints as something that's like in the moment and live. I always think it's funny watching a replay of a sprint, but I guess there's a lot of chatting in between, so that makes sense. It just seems like a very different thing than like the Realm of the Elderlings discussions I've been hosting, because this just feels like a bit of chatting. I will probably not be alone on stream today. Evie, coincidentally, was planning on doing some sprints and decided to join mine instead and said that she would join me on screen. So she may eventually pop in. Greatcoats, right. Assassin's Apprentice, yeah. And Greatcoats, actually, Tori sent me that for Christmas last year. And the first Greatcoats book. And I'm looking forward to getting into it. It sounds like my kind of thing. Theo, just saying hi, driving from Portland to Seattle for the day. Okay, cool. You wish you were reading Ship of Magic. I assume that means that you have read it before. Okay, here's Evie.
Hello.
Evie is outside.
You can hear me, right?
I can. We can.
Sweet.
Yeah. Wow.
It's
better there than it is here.
Yeah, it's cool but sunny. Oh, Max, no.
Whoa!
And I destroyed stuff. My dog tried getting out.
Dog emergency.
Hold on.
Oh yeah, lots of people. Sarah Faye, hi. Go read books rather. Hello, I forget his name. New channel, who I have checked out, but I forget.
His name is Matt as well.
Also Matt, another Matt. Cool. Hi, Matt. Yeah, Rogue. That is exactly what I'm expecting. It sounds like Three Musketeers with magic or something, kind of. Greatcoats. So I'm interested. Yeah, Andrea. I think we're all doing Keymark, the Keymark readathon. I got one book finished, but yeah, Ship of Magic it's a little chunky, but I'm getting towards the middle. I might sort of hit 50% this evening. Hi, Matt. I'm also Matt. Yeah, Realm of the Elderlings. You've obviously got to Huge fans right here with me and Evie. Hi, Evie from Andrea. Um, I am on the Beanie Barbarians, Tori's team. Um, are you doing the readathon as well, Evie?
I was, and I was on Derry's team, and then I just realized I do not have the mental capacity or uh just yeah. I was like, I don't want to bring the team down, so I'm just gonna see if I can find someone to take my place. So I am
Right.
cheering everyone on, but mostly Derry's team from the sidelines. So
Okay. Hi, Anita. Yeah, so I'm on the Beanie Barbarians just because I didn't even know about the readathon until Tori asked me to join her team, and I couldn't very well say I will join the readathon, but not your team. So yeah, Matt, Ship of Magic. I mean, Live Ship is some of the best in the series, I think. I mean, I know it's been a long time since I've read it, but Live Ships as a trilogy, I think it's a much better experience reading all of it, like in order. But if someone was like, I don't want to think about 16 books, I would just say, okay, don't worry about anything, just read Live Ships. Um, and if you fall in love with that, then Hub is probably for you, and then you can go back to a second premise and catch up. There are connections, but they're subtle. I mean, the stuff I'm seeing so far, I've read it all except Ross trilogy, but a long time ago, so it's almost like reading it again. But it's it stands on its own pretty well. You know, it's connected a little bit in places, and there are some mentions and stuff like that, and some sort of semi secrets that are connected. But you can read Life Ship by itself. Yeah, Farseer is also awesome. I've been doing, for those that don't know, I'm hosting a readathon or read along rather since January. So we've been doing one Realm of the Outlands book a month in order, and eventually all of them. So it's going to take until sometime next year, April or something. But yeah, I'm really enjoying being back in Beantown. Madship next up. Oh, read it before Farseer. In a way. I mean, like there are publication order purists. I'm not necessarily a publication order purist myself, and like I said, there are connections, but I don't think you suffer too much if you read Live Ships first, or even Live Ships only. Jerome, welcome. I didn't know this was happening either until about an hour ago. I was sitting here reading and I was like, it's Sunday afternoon. It's nice doing sprints on Sunday afternoon. So why don't I just do this? So sorry for the short notice, but it was a very spontaneous idea. And it was very spontaneous that Evie joined me. Evie was planning on doing sprints and then said she joined mine instead. So
yeah, I figured I'd rather not step on toes and have conflicting sprints. So I didn't want to make people choose.
exactly, it's always good. I did that. I think was it last weekend. Um, I think Tori was having some sprints, and I joined her instead of doing the one that I was thinking about doing. Um, yeah, that is exactly Sarasi. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Um, that is exactly the main thing you're not going to get if you just read Live Ships and you haven't read the Farseer trilogy. Um, Even some people who have read the Farseer trilogy, like me, the first time I read Live Ships, didn't get that. or not didn't get it, but it took a really long time. Great being back in Fitz's point of view. Yeah. I always want to slap him a little bit. Fitz is probably the most frustrating protagonist I know of. He's such an idiot. And you can just see him doing things where you're like, this is going to be a disaster, Fitz. Why are you doing this? Could you not do something smart?
Yeah, but I keep saying there's a catharsis in reading Fitz's perspective, at least for me.
So. Totally. He's, I mean, the reason he's so frustrating is because he's as stupid as I am. And I kind of want characters in books to be smarter than I am. And when they're making mistakes I've already made, and acting in stupid ways that I've already acted, then it's just so clear that they're making a mistake that you want to slap them. I don't know, Jerome, or maybe you should start reading some Hob. I don't know. I don't think I'm the only, or like you're the only one who's not reading Hob, but Evie, you will also be pleased to know, I think next on my list for the readathon is the Spear Katsu War.
Yay! This makes me so happy. Also so nervous.
I thought it might. At least make you happy.
Oh no. Okay. It's fine. It's fine.
What are you nervous about? Are you thinking that I might not like it?
It's more that I love it so much that I want people to love it as much as I do it. As much as I do. Yeah. So, but I know that's not obviously realistic. Not there's no one book for everyone. So, and this, I don't know, I feel like this hit me in a particular way that it might just be like me, but
just a you thing. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I mean, everything I watched your review about it, and everything you said about it, I thought, wow, that sounds really interesting. So,
I mean, the people that I've recommended it to and that I've read it have liked it, have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But not necessarily the gushing like, oh my god, this is amazing, the best book ever. So.
Yeah, I'm expecting to at least like it. I do not know if I will fangirl like you about it. There you go, Jerome. Andrea is not reading Hob. Has not read Hob. Yeah, you need to get to the Hob, Andrea. I was talking to someone on Discord, I forget who that was, earlier today, and she said she wanted to read, she was more attracted to something that Hob wrote as Megan Lindholm and wanted to read that first. The Harpy something or other.
Oh, Harpy's Flight, which I cannot find. I literally cannot find anywhere.
Oh wow, okay.
So like I can't find electronic copies. Like I could pay money for like a used paperback copy, but yeah. I'm just waiting for them to reissue one day. So.
Yeah. No, I've read Soldier Son, which I think was as Lindholm.
No, I think it was Robin Hobb.
Also Hobb? Okay, yeah.
It was after Tawny Man, I think, but before Rainwilds.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I did a long time ago. I read some stuff that she wrote as Lindholm. But
I've read oh gosh, I'm blanking. Oh, Cloven Hooves. I've read that. Right. I really, really loved it, and not just because the character's name is Evelyn. And then I started to read Wizard of the Pigeons, and I just was not in the best headspace. So I was like, this book is going to suffer for me not, like, with it being a me problem. So I was like, I will read it later when I'm more mentally capable. So.
Right. Philip Jose Farmer, Jerome. I saw you reading that. I read that a long time ago. I read a couple, maybe 3 of the the River, whatever they're called, series, and weird stuff. I kind of that stuff I put in with Robert Heinlein, and a lot of Heinlein's very strange, alternate society, weird, trippy kind of stuff. You've heard about Hobbes that it is really slow and miserable. um, yeah, I mean, it is slower than a lot of stuff because she's very character focused, and you get a lot of interior of characters. Um, and miserable, I guess, would mean that there is a lot of heartbreaking stuff that happens, and that characters are put through quite a lot of suffering sometimes, but there are also amazingly exciting and joyful moments. So I consider it very emotional, but not only negative. Yeah, it's fun and joyful as well as being tragic and heartbreaking. And it feels like live ships, which is quite a separate story to the fifth story. Live ship is also pretty tragic in lots of ways, but it's not as heavy in a way because, like with fifth story, you're only getting fifth. Everything you're reading is focused on one character, and it's told first person, and he goes through a lot. Yeah, he has a rough life. Whereas live ship is more what we're used to in a lot of fantasy novels, where it switches third person focused on one character and it switches POVs. So that makes it a little less dramatically tragic, even though there's a lot of pretty tragic stuff that happens. Hey, Dan, how are you, man? Yeah, Anita says it well. Books are not miserable, but we feel miserable because we love the characters. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there are a lot of feels in Realm of the Otherlands. Anyway, we have chatted for a bit. Why don't we read for a bit? That's what we're here for. Let's say until 10 to the hour.
What are you reading, by the way?
What am I reading?
Yeah. Nice.
Da-da.
Probably.
Yeah, and it's man, it's been a long time since I read it, and I kind of forgot how good it is. It's the characters are so amazing, and even the bad characters. I mean, I wanna punch Kyle and Kenneth so hard in the throat, but they're also just fascinating. You know, she does such a good job of giving you a feeling for like their perspective, or that they're motivated in certain ways that aren't necessarily bad. They're just really bad at getting it done.
There's a complexity to them.
Exactly. They are not cardboard cutouts.
Yep. I mean, which is, indicative of just your character work in general, good or bad characters. So
yeah. And it's also, I mean, my favorite series of all time, Malazan Book of the Fallen. It's one of the reasons I love Malazan, because even the worst characters eventually get explained to the point where you're like, ah, damn it, I understand him now. Even though you don't really want to. So anyway, let's read for half an hour, say until about 10 to the hour. I'll put a little banner up there, and we'll be back then. Enjoy your read. Hello. I've been told by people who have headphones on during sprints that if I jump on right after a sprint and speak too loudly, it shocks them. That's one guy say he almost fell out of his chair when suddenly I said, "Hey, everybody!"
Yeah, that's why I've started. Whenever I do sprints, I'll just do. Pss, 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 pss. So.
So Dan is here, and I was I was chatting during the sprint with Dan, and it's Dan's birthday.
Happy birthday, Dan!
Dan shares a birthday with Jesus. Well, a rebirthday with Jesus. So happy birthday, Dan and Jesus.
So I was thinking, if Friday is Good Friday, does that mean that yesterday was Better Friday and today is Best Friday?
Today is Best Friday, yes. As Easter is otherwise known. Perfect time for sprints, Caroline says. Yes. I see that you're reading, Evie, you're reading Senlin Ascends.
Yep, rereading. So.
Oh, rereading. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess you liked it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was a little nervous to reread it because, I mean, Alan will argue this, but the last book of the series is understandably divisive. People either love it or they hate it. I was more on the side of loving it. I understand why people don't like it. It's just so bonkers and off the wall, and it fits with the story being told, in my opinion. But I was still nervous to kind of reread it because I'm like, am I still gonna love it as much as I did the first time? And thankfully, I am loving it even more.
Okay, cool.
So
I have actually I've heard very little about it. I think I've only heard Alan talk about it.
Really?
And and I've heard some people mention it where they're like, I didn't get into it. And it seems like just as a series, it's a divisive kind of thing. But the way Alan described it, I like weird books. Yeah, and I'm totally into some kind of strange, surreal bullshit. So the way Alan described it, I was like, I definitely have to read that. It sounds really, really, really interesting.
Yeah, it's like it's there's like a dark whimsy to it, and it feels like a modern but Victorian style. Like that's his prose style.
Okay.
And I mean, I thankfully Alan included me in an interview with the author before Fall of Battle came out, and the author admitted, Josiah Bancroft, he admitted to not reading a lot of fantasy. So like the majority of his stuff he reads is like Italo Calvino. I can never pronounce his name.
Italo Calvino, yeah.
Yeah, and just more like kind of surrealist, like absurd, not necessarily absurdist, but like, yeah, there you go. Kind of.
I love Calvino.
More like literary, like weird.
Borges, probably,
yeah.
And Calvino, and yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so it makes sense that this fantasy is not traditional in any sense of the word. You can tell where the influences of the kind of more Victorian, more whimsical aspects come into play.
Right. I mean, if he says he's inspired by Calvino, then I will probably love it because Calvino, like years ago, I don't know why, but I picked up If on a Winter's Night a Traveler years ago, and it blew my mind. it was nothing like any book I had ever read before. Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure there are books that are similar to it, but I had not read them. And reading this weird mix between kind of a detective story and but like super meta where the author is talking directly to you as the reader like half the time, and it just it fucked with my mind in ways that no book had ever before. Yeah, it was really, really interesting, and I'm rereading it now slowly. But and I picked up some Borges recently as well because I've never read any of his stuff. That everybody's like, oh, if you like Calvino, you should read Borges, and also Gene Wolfe, who I love, cited Borges as one of his big favorites, and I like that kind of stuff. So I think probably Finland is for me.
Yeah, I separate from that interview, I had reached out to Josiah Bancroft, and I had finished the first 3 books, was waiting for Fall of Babel to come out. And I was like, I need something to hold me over. I'm like, do you have any suggestions for like either your favorite books of all time or just recent reads that you've enjoyed? And he gave me a list, and one of them was the Doomsday book by Colleen Willis, maybe? Willis?
Yeah.
I can't remember who wrote it, but and then a couple of other like smaller books that were translated. And the other one was The Baron in the Trees by Calvino. So I, of course, immediately got that. And still haven't read it, but definitely want to read it at some point.
Yeah.
Connie Willis. There you go. I was close.
Connie Willis. Okay. Exactly. Yeah, I'm really interested. Like, I like the idea of someone writing fantasy who isn't into all of the stuff we're into.
Yeah.
Right? They're writing something weird and magical and all of that, but it's not based on the Tolkien tradition or the anything else tradition, the Moorcock tradition or any of that. You know, something that really comes from somewhere else.
Well, I will say that since you're going to be picking up The Spear Cuts Through Water, Simon Jimenez kind of does that in a little bit of a way. But it's actually, I would say it's more the flip side of he does it the same way with the Vanished Birds, where the Vanished Birds is obviously sci-fi, but Spear Cuts Through Water is fantasy, where he knows the traditions of the genre, and he is paying homage to those kind of traditions while still playing with them and kind of creating his own thing. It's just, again, I'm so nervous, but I want you to love it. It's so good.
I'm super open to loving it. I mean, what I've heard about it sounds like it will be totally in my wheelhouse. I'm keen to get to it. Like I said, I made a list. I had to this month. I had to basically blow off almost all of my other reading commitments because I wanted to join the readathon. So I stuck with my Realm of the Everlings read along, and I stuck with my buddy read with Philip, which is Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe. And then after that, I said, okay, I'm going to read a whole bunch of short things so I can get them comparatively short things, so I can get them all done for the readathon. And that is Spear Cuts Through Water, Never Die, which is a recommendation from Tori and others. Seasons of Albadone, which was also, I think, a recommendation from Tori. And yeah, that's my 5. So that's as good as it gets for the readathon. Brian, what weird Gene Wolfe book did you just read? And what weird Robert Gibson book are you not as excited about? I don't know Robert Gibson, but I've read a lot of Gene Wolfe, so I know he's kind of weird. She always talks about that author. Patricia Meredith always talks about Connie Willis. I've never read anything by Connie Willis. I've heard of Doomsday Book. I'm just looking at her on Goodreads. I've heard of Doomsday Book, but I've never read it. Oxford Time Travel #1. Okay. Don't know anything about her.
I know that she wrote Name of the Dog or In the Name of the Dog or something like that. Jerome, you're probably aware of it and will correct me. To say nothing of the dog. There you go. Thank you.
I like authors who actually give a shit about their titles and put a little effort in and come up with something interesting. I'm reading or audioing Monk and Robot right now, the second book of Monk and Robot, and I looked at Becky Chambers' bibliography, and all of her books have such awesome names.
So
To be taught is fortunate, or A Psalm for the Wild Book. I mean,
so
great.
I do wonder, like, how much sway or power the author does have over titles, like especially nowadays. You know.
Yeah.
Well, even like reportedly, like Pride and Prejudice was originally supposed to be First Impressions, but the publisher wanted the title to be more like Sense and Sensibility, which was Austen's first published novel.
Right.
So
something and something.
Yeah. So
yeah. I think most publishers, if you're writing in fantasy, they want you to have something of the something, because you're totally in line with Tolkien.
Or the something. So like the King's Sword or the
Yeah. I actually made a video about it. I was so sort of surprised once I noticed it. I started looking around. How many fantasy book titles are thing of thing? And that's just like the template that everyone seems to follow. And there are exceptions, of course, but like George R.R. Martin, Song of Ice and Fire, all of it is something of something. And so many books are just thing of thing. Meta Mindfuck, I'm really gonna like Baker. It's weird. People who are hardcore Baker fans are probably gonna hate me for this, but I was looking through my Kindle. I mean, I've had a Kindle since the first version of the Kindle, so a long time. So I've got a big library of Kindle books, and a lot of them I bought, I don't know, 20 years ago or whatever it was. I've actually read, I think, the first Baker trilogy, and I do not remember it at all. But I own them in my Kindle library, and it says I read them. And I have no memory of it. I'm sure I want to get to them. I want to finish Malazan first, my Malazan reread. I don't think my mind could take Malazan and Baker at the same time. But somehow it seems like I already read some of it, like the first trilogy, and it didn't leave that great an impression on me somehow. I don't know. We'll see. I may, like, as soon as I start reading it, I'll just go, oh yeah, okay, right, yeah, no, that's right, I remembered all that. But I have a horrible memory. An homage to Jerome K. Jerome's Three Men in a Boat. What is an homage? Oh, it's To Say Nothing of the Dog is an homage. Okay. I've never heard of any of those, so it'll be a surprise. Something of something. Dan liked my video. That's good. my only real attempt at a humor video. But it just seemed like an idea that needed to be done to me.
The muse called to you.
Actually, I was just frustrated.
Listen,
kept
I'm
seeing
sure.
all these titles, and I was like, why doesn't somebody just think about the title for 5 minutes?
Listen, I think frustration is a secret muse, so it's one of the unnamed ones.
True. Yeah, I mean, like the Malazan titles. I mean, some of them are Sing, like Dust of Dreams, but a lot of them are simple, like Toll the Hounds or Reaper's Gale, or but they're meaningful in the story, and they're interesting, and they don't just follow the standard fantasy template.
Yeah,
which I appreciate. So shall we splint again? The God is Not Willing is an excellent title, yes. Some of the other ones I'm trying to remember, like the Kakanos trilogy, are also kind of cool, but I can't really see them from here. But I remember thinking, oh, okay, those are so nice titles.
Speaking of, I did see that Subterranean Press is doing special editions of the Carquinez trilogy.
Yeah, the sub press special editions, I would love to have all of them.
Sorry, I thought
happening?
Huh?
Something happening?
No, I heard noise and I thought I heard it behind me. It turns out it was my husband getting stuff from the kitchen, and I was so confused.
Yeah, I'd love to have the sub press stuff, but they've just been doing second printing of the Malazan special editions.
Oh.
And yeah, and each one that they put up sells out completely in under 10 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, like you have to be sitting on top of the site and refreshing every 30 seconds all day long until they put the things up so that you can get one, because a friend was actually trying to get one, and he was pretty ready, but he wasn't like watching the site constantly, and he missed it because they do like 120.
That's what happened with me with SST publications. I can't remember. Like they mostly do like horror and thriller special editions. I had gotten I had ordered a Stephen Graham Jones special edition, so I got first access to the next ones. And I missed the email for Don't Fear the Reaper, which is the second book in the Lake trilogy, and I already have the first book in the special edition. And I'm like, son of a bitch! And theoretically, I was able to order one through Subterranean Press, so I don't know if it'll actually go through. But they didn't tell me, surprise, it's not available. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, since Malazan's my favorite series. I've got the worst editions possible. Like, I have mass market paperbacks of all 10 books, and that's it. I can't even get the trades over here.
Good thing Alan is probably not here in the chat, because he'd be throwing hands right now. He loves mass market paperbacks, so
I don't mind mass market paperbacks, but a mass market paperback that's 1,400 pages long it gives me carpal tunnel syndrome. I mean, it just like it
also
destroys my hands.
I have to have it like this because the font is so tiny.
Yeah. Also that I find trades a lot more comfortable to read.
Yeah.
And getting like a hardback or any kind of special edition of Malazan, you can just forget it. And over here, I have not seen anywhere that I can order any of the trades for Malazan.
I mean, they are pretty hard to find anyways, even in the US. So
Yeah. Yep. I could only get the mass markets, and for the later ones, like the Esselmont books and the later post Book of the Fallen Erickson books, I could get trades for all of them. But yeah, see, Jerome, have you ever actually had the Crippled God in mass market paperback in your hands? It is not small and handy and useful for travel. It would be excellent for stopping a door or killing someone, but it's not small and handy. It's extremely chunky. Like the look of mass market paperbacks, but hate opening them. Yeah, I'm one of those people. A lot of people think it's sacrilege, but I'm one of those people who actually I kind of like creased spines. I kind of like a book as an object to have feeling of use. Like I don't buy most of my books just for collecting to keep them pristine and pretty. I like that it looks pristine and pretty before I read it, and it looks like I've read it after I read it.
Yeah.
You know, and damn, you get quite a number of creases when you read The Crippled God.
Yeah.
A mass market paperback with I think 1,400 pages, so just like constantly tracking it, which makes a lot of people wince. Anyway, shall we splint again?
Yep.
So I'll put up Ed Benair. We'll go until 40, so 20 to the hour, and enjoy your reading. See you then. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, I think Jerome's calling me a monster because I like creasing my books. I guess. I don't know how you read an over 1,000-page mass market paperback without creasing it.
Okay, I don't know if it's my mic that's weird, but okay, never mind. I don't hear it anymore, so we're good.
Yeah, your mic sounds all right.
Okay.
Totally fine. How was everyone's reading?
I got. I wasn't paying attention to where I started. I think I got like 15 pages or so. So, which for me is pretty average.
I'm not sure exactly how far I read, but there were some very good themes. It's, I would say that Live Ships does, maybe it just feels that way because it's switching characters all the time, but it feels like it moves a lot more than the Fitz books.
Oh yeah. I mean, I read the entire Live Ship Traders trilogy in pretty much a month. Like I read a Live Ship book, read a short book between it, and then the next one because I'm like, I can't stop reading this. This is amazing.
It's got that feeling which I haven't had in a while. I mean, I've read some good stuff, but there's a difference between reading a good book and really, really, really looking forward to reading a particular book and not wanting to do anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ship of Magic has done that. I've had, like Friday was a holiday, and then yesterday was Saturday, and I don't know how many hours I've read in the last few days just because I had time. I didn't have anything else I had to do, and I was just like, there isn't anything I want to do more.
Nice.
30 pages. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, Jerome says Philip Jose Farmer's absolute drivel. Yeah, I don't remember it being drivel, but it was a really long time ago that I read any of his stuff. And I'm pretty sure I read his stuff when I was a teenager. And it's really old school science fiction.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's quite different than a lot of writing these days. But I know To Your Scattered Bodies Go was, I don't remember if it won a Hugo, but it was pretty big back in the day. But maybe just because it was so funky and weird. Tyrant's Throne. Rogue is reading Tyrant's Throne. I don't. It sounds familiar, but I don't remember what that is.
It's a Greatcoats book by Sebastian de Castell.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I can't remember which. I know it's not number one, but I can't remember which number book it is.
Rogue said earlier the final Greatcoats book.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I look forward to diving into those. They sound, I was saying earlier, they sound like Musketeers with magic. And
I plead the fifth on opinions.
You DNF'd it?
I read the first book and I hated it so much.
Wow, okay.
I gave it 1 star.
Wow, okay. Wow, I'm very, now I'm very curious to read it.
Yeah,
Tori gave me the first book for Christmas.
Yeah, it's incredibly, like, he can write action scenes like nobody's business. I will give him that because his background is in like stunt coordinating or something like that, maybe.
Okay.
Or maybe sword fighting. I one of the two or both, maybe both.
He knows action. Right.
And so the action scenes are fantastic, but for what I go for in books, it felt like literally just action scene after action scene with no like actual plot. Like what little plot
Okay.
there was, it was just an excuse to get to the next action scene and to
Okay.
like for every like 1 page of plot or character development, there was 10 pages of an action scene. And then on top of that, there is a chapter in particular, and I can't remember the chapter number, but I was already frustrated with the book to that point, and then I got to that chapter and I was like, this is the stupidest book I've ever read. This is the stupidest reason for this thing to happen. I hate this book. And Alan had told me, he's like, don't read that chapter before I read it. And I'm like, if it's in the book, I'm going to read it. Like,
he wanted you so much to continue reading that he said skip a chapter.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, even if I hadn't read that chapter, it would have been like a 2-star book.
We're talking about Sebastian de Castell and the Greatcoats books.
Trader's Blade in particular.
Yeah, I've got that one on my shelf. It was gifted to me, and I like swashbuckly adventure, and it sounds to me like the Musketeers with magic, and I'm like, I'm totally on board with that. But yeah, now it sounds a little less exciting.
If there was magic in there, I do not remember any magic. Like,
oh, okay.
I might have like put blinders on and been like rage reading at that point of like.
Okay. Rogue says they didn't like that chapter either. So.
But he's continuing on, so there's hope.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean he's on the final book.
I know Alan's reading. I know Alan's reading that right now, and he's really enjoying it. So.
Okay. Is that following the
I think it's
and Western 7 template?
Yeah, I think it is like a play on that. I don't know if it's the start of a new series or like what. All I know is Alan likes it. So.
Alan likes lots of stuff. As long as nobody else likes it.
Yes.
That's important. Although I was happy when I first discovered Alan's channel. I thought, oh, okay, this guy's a lot of fun, and slightly crazy, and
we love Alan.
Oh yeah, no, I super enjoy watching his channel, and after a while I got the feeling, okay, so this guy likes things I've never heard of, which is always cool because it introduces me to new books instead of someone saying that thing you love, I love it too. Yeah, okay, whatever. But I was actually quite happy to realize that Alan also loves Malazan.
Yeah, he's not as vocal about it, I feel like. Probably because people are talking about it. Yeah. So
not hipster enough for him.
Yeah, he's got to maintain his brand. So
yeah. Exactly. But I did go back and watch some of his Malazan videos, and he has some very interesting thoughts about them, and overall really likes them. And it's always interesting, like if you find a real Malazan fan, it's always interesting to say, okay, what's like your top 3 books in the series? Because everybody's different. And the books Alan ranted about are also my least favorite. And I think the ones he really loved were also my favorites.
Nice.
Dan also wants to read Malevolent 7. Sequel series starts later this year.
Interesting. Yeah, I think the Malevolent 7 and the Maleficent 7 came out pretty close to each other, so that's why there was like
that's unfortunate. That is rather unfortunate. I mean, there was also, it's a while ago now, but there was also a year where like everybody put out a science fiction book about Mars.
Yeah.
You know, like The Martian and I think Red Planet was another one. And there were also movies that were all sort of coming out in 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
Bang, 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 one after the other. Sort of a zeitgeist thing.
It's like there's a
Mars.
marketing ploy or something to make sure that things happen at the same time.
Yeah, maybe they were all just funded by Elon Musk.
Yep. You know.
He was getting ahead of the marketing.
It's all a giant Tesla commercial.
Yeah, I mean, once he's finished ruining Twitter, then he can move to Mars. I think that's his plan. Okay, here we go.
Wait, are those your 3 favorite or 3 least favorite? That's my question for both Rogue and Jerome.
It's got to be favorite.
Okay.
Because nobody says Bone Hunters or Midnight Tides or Cryptic God is least favorite. Yeah, I'd probably go Memories of Ice, Bone Hunters, Crippled God. I'm Toll the Hounds, really? Jerome, you're a weirdo. Toll the Hounds. They're like the last 10 or 15% of Toll the Hounds is one of my favorite sequences in the series. But the rest of the book, yeah, it's just made me a bit tired. There's a lot of stuff going on in that book where it's just like getting really deep into the feelings of characters I don't give a shit about. And I was just like, I'm not that into it. Yeah. Had to put down Memories of Ice for the readathon. Hurt your heart. Yeah, Memories of Ice is hard. Reaper's Gale, least favorite. Yeah, that is probably one of my least favorites as well.
Hi, Katie. Just want to make sure I said hi.
Nuclear Katie is here. Hi, Katie. It's super dreamy and full of foreboding. Yes, it is. If you're talking about Toll the Hounds. And it was boring, foreboding dreaminess, a lot of it. There are bits of it I love, but it'd be one of my least favorite. Reaper's Gale is probably also well down the list. Memories of Ice. Memories of Ice was the first one I felt like, I don't know, maybe it was just that it was jumping around a lot in different places and stuff it was the first one where I was like, okay, I think I've got a grasp on this Malazan universe now. You know, there was a lot of stuff being exposed where I was like, yeah, okay. And yes, the Memories of Ice prologue is worth reading multiple times. Because the first time you read it, you're like, who the fuck are these people and why do I care what's going on? But everything in the prologue is very important and relevant. And I reread it after I read the book, and then I reread it again later when some other stuff came up. I was like, wasn't that somehow connected to the prologue and Memories of Ice? So I went back and read it. Yeah, it's such a good book. I think if it wasn't for chapter 27 of Bone Hunters, I would probably say that Memories of Ice would be my favorite. But chapter 7. I think it's chapter 7. Of Bone Hunters is legendary. It's one of those chapters. I always tell people when you're reading Bone Hunters, check your timing. Because when you start chapter 7, you will not want to put the book down until you finish that chapter. And the chapter is 120 pages. So I started it at like 11:30 at night. And I literally couldn't stop. And it was like 2:30 in the morning or something where I was like, finally I finished this chapter. It was amazing. I have to go to bed. Yeah, you should start that chapter on an afternoon on a weekend or something where you have nothing else you have to do. Um, but it's pretty legendary. Yeah, the prologue of Memories of Ice is it's one of those things that Erickson likes to do. He jumps back 100,000 years and tells a story that seems disconnected from everything else. And then as you read through the book, if you remember the prologue, which I didn't the first time I read it, then you start going, oh, okay, so these people have problems with each other because they've been alive for a long time and they screwed each other over a long time ago. Brian, are prologues in Malazan as long as prologues in Wheel of Time? I DNF'd the first book of Wheel of Time at about page 200 because it was so Tolkien derivative and poorly written. I know all the wheelies, you can relax. I know, I've heard it gets better, it gets more original. All of that, I did not have the patience to get to that. So I cannot compare it to Wheel of Time. The prologue of Memories of Ice is, yeah, it's longish, I think, but I mean it's not insanely long. I don't remember it being insanely long. I haven't got it right in front of me. I can't check, but finally worked up the courage to buy Gardens of the Moon. Gardens of the Moon is. I was really happy. Like recently, there is an ongoing Malazan read along right now, and I was really happy to see a lot of people who never read Malazan before and were a bit intimidated by it. They read Gardens of the Moon, and a number of people said, I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but I love it. Which seemed like the right reaction to me. Wheel of Time prologues that are 80 pages long. I'm thinking, yeah, I think Rogue might be right. Like Memories of Ice prologue is more like half that or less. But Erickson does do it. I mean, sometimes there isn't. I guess on average, his chapters do have a certain length, but sometimes they're really long. He doesn't really do the really short ones. Like I've seen people throw in one-page chapters and stuff like that every now and then to sort of emphasize a particular scene or whatever. Mm-hmm. Erickson never does that, but he will sometimes throw you a 100-page chapter or a 120-page chapter like Bone Hunters. Maybe 60, super long. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just gonna say to answer your question, Jeroen. I read Gardens of the Moon, and I started to read Dead House Gates. I think I got like into chapter 2, maybe chapter 3. I don't remember. And I don't want to say that I'm not smart enough because that kind of sets a precedence of like, oh, you gotta be like, whatever, certain, I don't know, reading level or whatever. It's just the way that Stephen Erickson writes, like the way that anyone writes, I would imagine, or at least my experience is, you have to put there's some level of effort on the author's part and some level of effort on the reader's part. Ideally, it'd be a 50-50 split. Some books I read where the author puts in more effort and I don't, have to think as much or like infer as much. Erickson's writing, I have to put in a lot of effort into his storytelling, and that's exhausting for me. And I'm like, I don't want to put that much effort into it. Like, I don't feel like I'm getting enough out of it for the effort that I'm putting into it. So, long story short, I read Gardens of the Moon, and I DNF'd Deadhouse Gates. So, and Matt's gonna kick me off the stream.
I'm thinking about it. My mouse is hovering. No. I totally understand people not getting into Malazan. Yeah,
I mean, like, it honestly, once I finally read Realm of the Elderlings and I finished it, I'm like, I get it why people don't continue on the series or they stop at some point.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't say that Robin Hobb and Steven Erikson's writing is similar in any way, but just the intimidation, I guess, of like how much emotional like investment do you want to put into the writing, the characters, whatever. For me, Robin Hobb was worth it because I think the catharsis. Steven Erikson stuff, I think so this is actually the reason why I was so nervous to read Live Ship Traders originally, is I don't do well with multi-perspective. And I think that's my biggest struggle with Steven Erikson's storytelling is he has this absolutely wide cast of characters, and I can't find anyone to kind of latch onto. Except for Tattersail. I love Tattersail. So
Tattersail's cool, but she's not around very long.
Yeah.
Sort of spoilers, but yeah. I mean, Erikson, like if you want to get attached to characters in the long haul, you can.
Yeah.
But book to book, he makes it very difficult. Yeah. Because every book goes to a new place and has almost a completely new cast of characters that aren't connected to the previous book you just finished. Yeah. And so on. And yeah, he doesn't make that easy. And if you have a hard time with multiple POVs, yeah, then I would almost say Malazan's not going to work right from the get-go, because there are lots of characters and he switches POVs multiple times in a chapter, not convenient chapter by chapter like Mountain or whatever.
I think if I tried it again, I would do audio, purely audio.
Yeah. I haven't tried the audio at all, and I'm really curious how it would work. I mean, I think it would work for me because I'm on a reread right now. Like, I'm very into Malazan, and I've read the whole thing once, and I'm halfway through, or a bit past halfway. Second read, I think reading for the first time, I imagine it would be quite confusing, actually, because of names and weird stuff you've never heard of, and I don't know. But maybe that would actually work really well. I mean, I always recommend to people, Suzanne, people who've never read it before, I always recommend to put your mind in the state you would if you were going to read a mystery novel, right? A crime or something novel, where you expect that you will not understand everything, right? You expect that there will be a bunch of stuff going on and you're not sure exactly what it is, and you're not sure you exactly understand all of it until the end. And I think that can help, because I think what a lot of people struggle with is just not understanding things. And there are a lot of things going on that you're not meant to understand straight away. Yeah, there are clues and there are bits and pieces, and you can collect them and put them together and have your guesses and whatever. But really understanding what's going on takes a little while. Yeah, and it's a story that has lots of stories. Yeah. There's not one story through the whole book. Yep. There are bunches and bunches of stories, and they kind of come together and form a big story towards the end. But it's not like a fellowship that goes on a quest kind of thing. You know, there are lots of different things going on with lots of different characters and places and whatever. Brian Erikson does not do that. Yeah, he has some big prologues which are sometimes a little confusing and maybe important and whatever, but they are the characters and the things going on are absolutely relevant. The relevance may take a little while to become completely clear, but there are no throwaway prologues that are just there to be a prologue. Book of the New Sun required a ton of effort, but I've got so much enjoyment from both. Yeah, same with me, and also maybe it's just because I'm older and lazier now, but I don't worry about the effort quite so much. Like, I'm rereading Book of the New Sun right now, and it's been a long time, so it's like reading it for the first time, kind of. I'm kind of content to just sort of cruise through the story and just enjoy whatever weirdness is going on. There's a lot of weirdness, and every now and then, maybe intuitively something comes up, and I'm like, that's a connection there, or this is symbolic of something, or whatever. But I don't try and analyze it, put a lot of effort into analyzing it or figuring it out as I'm going along. I'm just sort of reading what's going on.
Yeah.
POV characters, there are even more in the later books in Malazan. Yes. A cow gets a POV in Toll the Hounds. Yes. An ox, technically an ox, but yes, an ox gets a few paragraph POV in Toll the Hounds. Erikson does experiment in places. There's only one. It's the beginning of. I'm misplacing things in books. I think it's the beginning of Memories of Ice. There is one POV for like a quarter of the book, which is really weird. Where Erikson just doesn't do that, and he actually said it was kind of a proof in a way. A lot of people had accused him of not being able to write characters, and that's why he switches POVs all the time, but so that he doesn't have to deal with any one character for too long. And when he introduces Casa, who is one of the coolest and most horrible characters in the whole series, he sticks with Casa for a couple hundred pages. I think it's like 220, 250 or something. Basically, no other characters. It's just Casa. Keep it in mind, tend to be a person who goes along for the ride anyway, rather than trying to put things together. Yeah, that seems to be an approach that works really well for Malazan. On this read along, like, people have been on the Discord, on the Grimoire Discord, discussing the books as they go along, and a number of people have said, I'm really enjoying it. I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm really enjoying it. So, like, not trying to figure out every mystery constantly as it's progressing can work, and a lot of these things become clearer as things go on. Part of it is kind of trusting Erikson.
Yeah.
And I've read the whole thing, and I can say you can trust it. Most of the dangling threads and the weird mysteries and the things you don't get in the first 5 books, they will be explained. Yeah, they will. There are things sometimes where you do need a little effort. You need to put some things together and figure it out, but a lot of the stuff will become apparent. Yeah. And you can, the other cool thing about it, which I guess is that way for a lot of big book series, there's a really good fan community. There are a lot of Malazan people that you can ask, and people are very conscious of spoilers, not giving away too much, but helping people out. I keep an eye on the read-along and comment every now and then when people are confused, if I can explain it without it being a read and find out issue. But yeah, there are a lot of people who are very into it and definitely can explain things. So shall we do maybe one last sprint?
Sure.
Everyone cool with that? So I would say until 20 to the hour. So like that. Enjoy your read. See you in a little while. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Good read, everyone.
Yep.
That went quick, apparently. Yeah, time is very relative.
So, in case anyone wanted a pro tip, you can leave your headphones in the sun and it will warm them up. And when you put them on, they're like earmuffs. So.
Oh, Trevor is reading The Culture. Player of Games is I've read 5, I think, culture novels, and a lot of people say Player of Games is the best one. I think I would say it's the best one I read. I know there are, I don't know how many culture novels there are, but there are lots, and they're all quite small and easy to read. But Player of Games is really well. Ian M. Banks.
Oh, okay.
They're science fiction. It's far future. It's a post-scarcity culture. So basically, humans have anything they could ever want, and they have amazingly high technology, and pretty much everybody does whatever they want. Most of their lives are leisure. And the spaceships are all artificially intelligent. Each of them has an intelligence on it and a personality and totally bizarre names. The ships name themselves, and they have these really weird poetic names. And the Player of Games is a guy who is a player of games, and his main leisure pursuit is mastering games. And he gets invited from their culture to another culture to participate in some sort of tournament. And it's good.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just read the first 5. Maybe it was 6. It's been a while. 26 more pages of recursion. Did some homework, also good. Yeah, I just don't care about page count. I never count pages when I'm reading. Like, oh, I managed to read 150 pages. I don't know. I always kind of look at it like this. I'm like, oh, I'm halfway through-ish. And that's enough. I don't know. Yeah, Player Games is a good introduction. That's also the cool thing about culture. Like, I think the novels are in chronological order, but they're pretty disconnected from each other.
Oh, okay.
You could pick up Player of Games first.
So it's pretty episodic, basically.
Yeah. I mean, there are recurring characters and recurring themes, and there's sort of an overarching background story that maybe makes more sense if you read them in order. But you could pick up Player of Games and not worry about it, even though it's the second or third culture novel. The character in Player of Games, the main guy, is introduced in that novel, and I don't think he's in anything after that. So they are pretty episodic. Someone's reading Folding Knife.
Wait, Caroline. I just realized that's you, like the Caroline.
Caroline.
Yeah, because she used to be Carol Loves Books, and I just realized you changed your name. So, yay! 170 pages left of the Folding Knife. Caroline, whenever you finish that, apparently Anitha, Pete, and I are reading The Hammer at some point in the next month or so. So if you want to join for The Hammer, you should do that.
Is The Hammer a sequel?
No, it's another KJ Parker standalone.
Right. Okay. Yeah, after listening to Alan I've kind of got an Alan TBR.
I think everybody does, honestly.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things he recommends that I've never heard anyone else recommend. So Folding Knife is definitely on there. I've never read any KJ Parker. Never even heard of him before I saw Alan. And that sounds good. 80% through to your Scattered Bodies Go. I'm curious, Jerome. It sounds like you're kind of struggling and it's garbage. Why are you insisting on finishing it? I'm always surprised by people who don't DNF books.
Oh, well, just whenever it happens then, Anita and Caroline.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I need to eat something. It's latish here. 9:45 in the evening. And I should get some food and maybe watch something. Science fiction is short. Yeah, a lot of, especially old science fiction. I mean, those books, and also old fantasy, a lot of it, like 70s fantasy and science fiction is always, like the Elric books were like as thick as your finger. And a lot of that old sci-fi is also like, you can read it in a weekend easy. So, yeah. You are welcome, Brian. It's something I've started doing a few weeks ago, and I kind of like it because usually a Sunday for me is pretty relaxed. All the shops are closed. I can't do any of the things I need to do. So I usually have very lazy Sundays. So I like kind of getting together with some people and knocking out some pages on a Sunday evening for me, afternoon for everybody else.
This happened to work for me as well, so thank you for letting me join you and crash your party. So
no, it's perfect. It's nice to have someone to talk to in between, like not just constantly reacting to stuff in the chats. So I always like to have somebody else join.
Not to say that everyone in the chat is boring.
No,
just
everyone in the chat is definitely boring. That is exactly what I was saying. No, of course I love having everybody in the chat, but it's different than when you speak live to an actual person you can see.
Yeah,
it's a bit different than text.
It's easier to like keep the conversation going rather than just being
exactly.
like, I don't know, I don't know how Alan does it. He goes for like 4 hours, just himself.
Alan, the thing is, Alan doesn't even need people in the chat to talk nonstop for 4 hours.
It's true. He could just rant by himself. So.
He could just completely rant with like nobody saying anything in the chat. He would have no problem keeping that conversation going. So cool. Thanks everybody. Thanks Evie for joining me. I hope everyone's having a good read and getting some progress on their readathon goals. And I will see you all soon. Hopefully.
Bye.
Bye.